You're listening to a Prairie Punk House Companion right here on the Prairie Punk Press Network. The views expressed by any host or any guest on the Prairie Punk House Companion are the personal views or opinions of the people who express them and do not reflect the views or opinions of anyone else on the show or any company, employer, or any other organization that the individual expressing them has or will affiliate with in the past, present, or future. Hi everybody, you're listening to a Prairie Punk House Companion. My name is Neckbone.
Hi, I'm Jerbear, and I got a new shirt today. It's a 15 shirt. I've always wanted a 15 shirt.
That's the band 15, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, in case anyone's confused. This is episode 11, though. That probably would have been a better intro for episode 15, but that's okay.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Also, that's super cool, though.
Hey,
yeah, that is. That's awesome.
Who's that? Who's that talking?
Who is that?
It's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Welcome to a Prairie Punk House Companion. We're excited to have you here.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy about your shirt.
Hey, thanks, man. Our friend Alex told me that I should get it. He sent me a link, and he's like, hey, I don't like 15, but you do. Here's a shirt you should buy.
Wait.
And I said, okay.
He doesn't like 15?
Who doesn't like 15?
Yeah, he's just not. I don't think he dislikes them. I just don't think he likes them.
I mean, we could go on the record about Aaron Comet Bus and like really dive deep into this, but yeah, okay.
Is this like a defiance thing? Like he's just like, you know what, everybody likes 15, so maybe. I'm not gonna like him.
He also doesn't like Crass, so
Jesus God,
I know.
You gotta talk to that guy. You gotta talk to him.
He's kind of a poser.
Yeah.
But when I was in Chicago for Joe's wedding, I walked back from the venue to Neckbone's apartment, and I thought it was like, I don't know, a mile or two. It wound up being like 5 miles that I walked back. It took me so long to get there.
It was not close. I mean, it was a completely different part of the city.
Yeah, and I don't hang out in Chicago a lot, so I was just like, eh. And every time I was like, here's a bus stop. I could wait for a bus, or I could just keep walking and hope I catch one. And I just wound up walking. It was probably like 5 miles. But under one of the underpasses that I went through, I found an Aaron Comet Bus tag scratched into the sidewalk.
Nice.
It said Comet Bus, and I think it said 94 or something like that.
Oh, nice.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Since Mike brought up Aaron Comet Bus.
Yeah, sure. That works.
You were in Proclaimers mode, like walking 500 miles, and you've found Comet Bus. Yeah.
Like 500 more.
I mean, I had to walk off all the free gin I had the night before.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was
it's the Lord's work, but somebody's got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That was the second to last weekend before I quit drinking. Mike, who are you? What do you do? How do you know us?
I am Mike. I exist on the temporary plane that we all exist on, I guess. And I have children, and I'm married, and Brooke is my wife. And I knew who you were before we knew each other. And I can remember a time, and it must have been like late 90s or because it was before I lived in Lawrence. And I was sitting in my car at 39th and Broadway going south.
Okay.
And with a car full of punk rock folk, we were doing something. And you had dreads and you were crossing the street going east. And it was really late at night. And you were really scary looking, and I personally was very scared of you. I was like, who's that guy? Oh my God. I was like, I think he works at what was it called? What was the restaurant where
Wild Oats? Oh, Otto's?
Yeah, Otto's. Because we've been going to Otto's for years, and Natalie, I had a friend Natalie that worked there. She later worked at Borders with me. She had a tattoo on her neck, chest, and But yeah, you were walking, and I was like, oh my god, who's that guy? And then, so that's my memory of you, Jerbear. And then Neckbone, my favorite memory of you, like probably not meeting you, but like at the Rainbow House, like we had this thing where I was like, this is how I flirt, and I would just point at myself and like Mike, and like say my name really fast. And so like that's how I remember you guys, and like you guys are such sweethearts. So like, thank you for doing what you're doing. I've loved the show so much so far.
I'm really, really, really glad that you like the show. You are one of the 17 people who like it, so I do appreciate all 17 of you.
Count me for
I
two.
do.
Like I'm the 18th person too.
Oh, nice, awesome. Hey, maybe we'll break 20.
I think I could get there with my affection. Like I'll try really hard. I'll work on it tonight, overnight.
I think the first time I remember seeing you was probably at the Flanders house at a show. And then you've just always been the biggest sweetheart. So much so that I guess Katie told me a couple years ago, it may have been last year, that when you came to town for their wedding, I guess I didn't get to see you, and I yelled at Katie because I wanted to see you, and she's like, "It's my wedding, dude." Don't yell at me. And I was I was just so bummed out that I didn't get to see you.
Were you like, way to make this about you, Katie?
I mean, that was definitely my tone. And I think didn't our bands play together a couple times once I moved back to Wichita? Spirit of the Stairs
sure.
and Ad Astra. I feel like we did.
At least a couple.
Times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that band was so fucking great. I love that shit. You've always been in really good bands. I mean, our intro music is SBK, so
yeah.
For both of our podcasts now.
Yeah. It's really good for intro music too. Not only is it fun to listen to, it's good intro music.
Well, and it's funny because like we have two different songs as the intro songs for both podcasts, but if somebody didn't know it was you guys, they wouldn't even think it was the same band. Because like the styles are so different. Like I think that's what I always liked about that split that you guys had with JBK, because I'm pretty sure that's from that, isn't it?
Yeah. That was our main release back then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was so fun. Your cover of Rock Lobster is one of my favorite things.
Oh man, that was all Andy DIY.
I'm sure it was.
We did that at El Torion. I don't remember like who we were playing with, but like, so like we had to have a keyboard for that cover, and like Tyler who had a keyboard, but like the demo button on his keyboard was just like the Star Wars like theme song, like da 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 da. And so like at the end of the song, we hit the demo button, and like it played the Star Wars like da 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 da, da, and like we all just like gratuitously like we bowed forever, like we just we had accomplished something great, and like I don't know, that's like the ridiculous side of punk, which is like what drew me to it, and like I was just like I love that side of just like it's absurd, it's like so weird, and like I don't know, that was definitely the attraction for me coming into punk rock, was like how weird or funny can you make it. Like
how did you get into punk aside from enjoying the silliness and weirdness that can be a part of it? What brought you into the punk rock scene?
Man, so I actually was like pretty on the fence about it as a teenager, like, and like in high school, like I went to high school and like there was a couple bands like Anti-State, which was like my friend Ron and some dudes, and like there was another band called Crack Babies, and like which was my friend Adam, and like
I remember that name.
Yeah, like weirdly, like Adam and I like hooked up, like with our mutual friend like passed away like 2 years ago. Like we hooked up to do like a tribute band to him, but like Adam, like he was in Crack Babies, and like then he pieced out hard on the punk side of things. Like went into like he's like a serious musician, like, and he's fantastic. Yeah. But like those dudes got me into it. Then like I was like, all right, well, whatever. And like I was moving on. Like my little brother started like a ska punk band, and like I was out of the whole thing. And then like they needed a drummer, and so like I started playing with them to help them out because it's my bro, and like I got back into it through that, and like that's when it just stuck, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going back to shows, because like my high school girlfriend was like super. She had been like a riot girl and done a zine, like gone to punk shows, and then she was over it, and so like I was like, well, I'm over it too then, and like I got back into it after we broke up, and like that's when I moved to Tennessee, then moved to Lawrence, and moved to the Pirate House, and like.
When did you move to Tennessee and come back to Kansas?
Yeah, I don't remember you moving. That must have been before we even knew you. Was when you were in Tennessee. Is that right?
Yeah. No, I moved to Tennessee in like 98, 99. I was back in Kansas City by like the end of 99. So
okay.
And then like I through the magic that is AIM. AOL Instant Messenger. Like I met Dave, and some other kids like who were doing things like, because it was like that was the era, especially then. This, you're like, who's gonna like do like a benefit or like whatever. And I was like, all right, if I'm gonna play music, it's gonna be for a cause. And like I met those kids, and like I came, and we went. We went to, it was Devin. I don't know if you guys remember Devin.
Oh, yeah. I remember
I think
Devin,
I picked Devin up at his, like, I picked Devin up somewhere. I don't know. And, like, we all met at the Mall of the Great Plains, maybe? Like, the big Kansas Mall, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And we had, like, an anarchist meeting at the mall.
At the mall.
Yeah, in the food court. And we didn't, dude, we didn't buy anything because screw those guys. So
right.
That's where we met. So we were there.
One of the things I didn't ask Johnny about, but I should have, is like the different scenes in Kansas City before everybody moved to Lawrence and started living in either the Flanders or the Pirate House. So there were like the Element kids at the first Central House, and then there was Nick and Chris and Joe and Brooke and Ray and Ryan, all those kids, and they weren't in kind of a separate scene. I don't even know if they knew the Central House kids or if they even liked them. I don't really know.
Joe told me that they knew them, or at least knew who they were, but yeah, they didn't really hang out in the same circles, at least not initially. I think as far as I know, this is once again a guy in his 40s trying to remember shit. But as far as I know, the scenes kind of got a little more shuffled as time went on. But yeah, they were kind of separate scenes initially, and they just knew of each other, but didn't really know each other.
Right. And I mean, I think they all went to different school. Like the Central House kids all went to the same school with one another, and then the Flanders kids all went to the school with one another. So, and that might be where the divide was.
Well, and the Central House kids were older too.
Yeah, they were closer to our age.
I think they were even like a year or two older than us, if I remember right.
Nah, they were younger.
Were they not? Oh, okay.
They were barely younger, because I remember they weren't old enough to go to the bar when we were going to the bar. So I think.
Oh, really?
A year or two younger than us.
Yeah. Where
Nick and Chris and all those dudes, they were like 3 or 4 years younger than us.
Yeah.
I don't remember you being around with Nick and Chris and them when we first moved to Kansas City, and that was in July 99. But I feel like you were around by the time they moved to Lawrence, which would have been, summer 2000?
Yeah. Well, the first time I remember hanging out with you was after I moved back from St. Louis I met you at the
Oh,
Pirate
really?
House.
It was that late?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd been in St. Louis for a year, so like,
Right.
anyone else that you met like during that time, I just didn't really, or if I did, it was on one of my brief visits. But then I was like, back off to St. Louis. So, but yeah, I remember hanging out with you at the Pirate House, like right around the time I moved in with Jerbear on Kentucky Street.
Yeah. Good neighbors.
Yeah.
For Kansas City, like, I'll say, like, and this is, like, my perspective. Like, I know there's, like, a way deeper history that, like, many people could add, like, color to. But, like, I started going to punk shows in, like, 95, 94, 95. And, like, it was, like, the Daily Grind, and, like, then, like, a G Coffee, and, like, but, like, it was, like, these venues that were, like, basically, like, the kids booked the shows, the kids came to the shows, they promoted them, like, it was, like, all, like, run by, like, adults had the business, but, like, the kids kind of ran it, within reason, and, like, I can remember going to shows and, like, people passing money through the crowd, like, for Food Not Bombs or whatever at Daily Grind, and, like, just being, like, really, like, I was like, this is cool. Like, this is, like, not, like, we're gonna change things. Like, this is cool. It was motivating and it was inspiring, and so I was like, all right, like, I'm in. And then that happened, and then, like, Daily Grind closed in 96, I think, because of the fire marshal. And then G Coffee moved to Olathe, and it was there in Olathe until, like, 90 or 2000 maybe. Like, and then El Torion came along with Brian Sanders. Like, he ran that, and, like, he had been part of the Outhouse, like, been part of the punk scene for, like, a long time. And so, like, these people don't come from nowhere, is, like, what I'm saying. Is, like, right. And, like, that was a really cool scene. And, like, the Pirate House and Central House, I remember, like, Element, like, those guys had been around. They played at G Coffee. Like, we played together at G Coffee. They did the Help Haiti benefit at the Harmon Park. And, like...
Do you remember... Sorry to interrupt. Do you remember who all was in Element? I remember, obviously, Eric. He was
Eric and friend. Tim, Larry.
I remember Larry.
Eric and Tim and Larry.
I remember who Tim is.
Tim was a singer.
I thought Larry was the singer.
Larry did vocals, but, like, Tim was the dude. And, like, Tim's still around. Like, I think we're friends on Facebook or Instagram. Like, we're still friends, but, like... Yeah, Tim sang, because, like, I remember, like, the first time I went to the Central House, like, Tim was, like, reading some poetry that he'd done. And then Brent...
Was he the singer the whole time? Or did he quit?
I can't quote...
Because
can't quote me on that.
I really only remember Larry. But it was so fucking long ago, and I was usually drunk when they played, so...
Tim... I remember Tim because, like, so here's a memory. G Coffee was, like, 1998, 99, and I was in, like, this, like, played drums in, like, this, like, street punk band called ODT, which stood for Or Die Trying, and we played a show with Element, Freeball, which I can't remember. I remember Freeball.
I know who Freeball is.
Kind of blowing my mind.
That's Adam Crispin from Kansas.
Yeah.
Later went on to be in Laces Loose.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Dude, you're right. That's amazing. It was Freeball and, like, amazing, like, weird, just, like, the weirdest shit. It was so cool.
Oh yeah, Freeball's fucking weird. And
I loved it.
Really, really, really good. And so was Laces Loose.
I remember Laces Loose. I don't remember Freeball at all.
Yeah, Freeball, and then Haiku, which was my future roommates, like Adam, Vince, and Allie.
Yeah.
And Jesse played drums. It was all my roommates. Like,
oh, okay.
And Allie worked at the record store. On
I remember
91st
her.
Metcalf. What was it called?
Wait, didn't she work at Recycled Sounds too?
I think she did later. Brooke worked at Recycled. Geez, what was it called? Oh, Street Side. But yeah, Allie worked at Street Side with a couple of the. Anyway, it was Jesse, Adam, Vince, and Allie, and like they all wore diapers on stage that said "Robots stink on the butts," and like they played. But Element played, and like I remember Tim that night was like punching himself in the face while he was singing for Element, like full on, just like hardcore, like punching himself in the face. And Brett Ray was there, and like Brett Ray, like we grew up in the same neighborhood, and so I've known Brett forever. But like,
forgot about that dude.
You should get Brett on the show, like, for real. He's still in it, like, and he's great dude. But I remember Brett was like in the front, like singing along, like punching himself, and I was like, "This is amazing." It was so intense, and I was like, "Well, my band is like the lame duck of the evening, I guess, because we're here with free ball and like freaking haiku." Was Vince and Allie and Jesse and Jesse's band, and then Element. And I was like, everyone's so much more intense than us. So
I remember those Element kids fucking loved Swing Kids.
Yeah.
And they talked about
I
their
saw
shows.
Eric recently. Like I saw him like within like the last month.
Mhm.
Quinn's around, but Kate's
Yeah,
gone,
how's-
Eric's
how's
gone,
Quinn
Charlie's
doing?
gone.
I haven't seen
Quinn's
Quinn.
a chef and fucking. He's a chef
On
in
Orcas Island.
fucking. So, did you didn't live at the Flanders house? You lived at the Pirate house, right?
Yeah, I moved into the Pirate House in May of 2000.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been
We were in Kansas City still.
May of 2000. Were we in Kansas City in May of 2000?
Yeah, we were in Kansas City.
Okay, all right.
Jesse was moving out, and it was the night that Submission Hold played.
Oh,
that was the
a
night
good
I
show.
moved in, which was hilarious
Okay.
because everyone who lived there like went to a party, and I was there with Submission Hold. Like, hey, I just moved here. What's up?
Were they nice? Were they chill?
Oh, they were super nice. I was just like,
Yeah.
I just moved here. I don't know where anything is. So
who all still lived there when you moved in?
it was Lowell, Justin, and Kurt, and Vince.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about the right time. Do you remember when Brandon moved out?
Brandon was there that summer, and then they had the going away party to Seattle in August, which was, I think, Derailer, SBK played, I think Zagoda played.
In August?
August of 2000. Yeah. Zagoda played. I have the flyer somewhere. I'll scan it and send it to you. Like, all the money went outside of the touring bands, like, went to their going away. And, like, there was a huge party, and that was the night that SBK drove to Fort Dodge, Iowa to record. So, like, we played, partied, and then left.
Did y'all go up to wherever it was that 10 grand was? Or
10 grand. Iowa City. No, but, like, we at Astra played with 10 grand, and, like, I didn't know Matt personally. I know his younger brother Dan from Wichita, obviously, but, like,
you booked a lot of shows. How did you get in touch with so many bands, and what was booking shows in Lawrence, Kansas like?
Right, because you were booking shows at the Pirate House, right? Or were you booking shows at just the Pirate House or more places?
I mean, anyone who called, I think it was 785-331-4435. Anyone who called that number,
right.
if you picked up the phone, you could book the show. So that was those were the qualifications for booking a show there.
Nice. All right, I'll make sure to call it so I can get Van or Astra Van playing soon.
Do it. I would love to hear who answers that number now.
Some poor bastard who's just like, fuck, what do people keep calling me trying to book shows?
My favorite non-me show booking memory was like there were two bands, okay? Two bands, distinct bands. One was called what were they called? They had the same name, but they had slightly different versions of it. It was like you're hold on, pause. Like,
I know this story.
it was like the atom bombs. No, it was something like that. Like, gosh dang it! Like, I can't remember it. One was like something A blah blah blah, and the other one was like something O blah blah blah. God, what were they fucking called? Anyway, they played the same night. They both booked the same night. It was amazing.
I remember that story. I may have been there that night.
You probably were. What the fuck were they called? All I can think is I could just think of Van or Esther Van.
Nick corrupts everyone.
It's like all I can think of. Van or Esther Van. I'm like, yeah, it was the Van or Esther men. Like they played, and anyway,
Van or Astrovan and Astrovan 5000.
That's our cover band that covers us.
Anyway, that was a good show. But okay, I'll skip that. Like until I can remember it. Like we booked shows and like we did like matinee shows. Like they were doing matinee shows when I moved in, which were like all ages, and like they were really. They did a thing where it was like no drinking or drugs, like matinee show for like high school kids, with the purpose of it being like, all right, if it's on the flyer and like the kids' parents drop them off, like they're not going to worry about
my drunk ass.
Well, I mean, you could be there. It was just we weren't going to put that on the flyer.
Jerbear's drunk ass will be there.
Yeah. That was, we advertised that later. That was like, because I moved back to Lawrence, or I moved to Lawrence and like, I moved back to Kansas City, I should say, in like end of 1999, and like, the Pirate House was doing like the matinee shows, and it's like, we went out there, where it was like, all right, that's cool, and we played, I think, SBK played in February of 2000. And like Brooks Band played Basement Disasters, like they were amazing, and like I think it was Element, Lost Pride, SBK, and Basement Disasters as a like a matinee show, just like all local bands, and it was awesome. And like I knew the Element dudes, and like I kind of knew Basement Disasters, like I'd been gone for like a year or so, like I kind of remember them, but like. You know, Eric's such a shredder on the guitar. They were so good. And, like, all the bands were great. And so we did that. And, like, I don't remember who played the next month. I think there was a band called Catfight that played. And, like, Kurt's band, The Syndicate, played. But, yeah. It was, like, it was all local bands. Like, all ages. You know, no matinee, like, no alcohol, no drugs. Like, which was... Nobody was doing that. It was just like, you know, just local showcase for like 4 kids. So,
do you remember the band that were friends with the Simpson House kids? It was they were like a country and western band.
It wasn't Jose PH, was it?
No, it wasn't. I keep wanting to say An Old Surrender, but that was Kate and Quinn's band, the Roundups. Do you remember that?
Sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right.
With,
I remember them,
like
yeah.
Nate and...
I forgot they existed until you said that. Then it just all flooded back.
They put on fun shows. I think they played at the Pirate House. Matinee.
Yeah, they did. Because like it was that and like the Shitty Deal Puppet Theater.
Were you there for the Thursday night potluck when Jesse and Kurt... maybe Vince did the Simpsons puppet show about trying to find where Springfield was? Real Springfield?
I wasn't. I don't think I lived there yet. That sounds amazing. I wish I was.
Fucking hilarious. And they had like Star Wars toys, and they were just going all through the house looking for the real Simpson Springfield. Was it in Missouri? Was it in Massachusetts?
Illinois, I think. Well, Matt Groening grew up in Oregon, and there's a Springfield, Oregon.
I think that's
next
the
to
one that it
Eugene.
actually is.
Yeah.
I've heard Oregon is like the most likely, culprit. So
All we have to do is find Shelbyville, and then we'll know.
On The Simpsons, they did say that Springfield borders Kentucky, Illinois, Oregon, and Missouri, and I mean they listed a whole bunch of states that don't even border each other. So
Right. So you were also doing a lot of activism, if I remember right. What's the connection for you between punk rock and activism? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit that like, it wasn't just making music, it was making music and doing shit, getting shit accomplished. But can you talk a little bit about the activism and what was important to you and things that you organized?
yeah, no, and like it feels corny, honestly, to talk about now, but like it felt like it was just part of it, and we when I came back to Kansas City before I moved to Lawrence, like there was a Food Not Bombs chapter in Kansas City that was super active. And so like when I moved to Lawrence, like there had been one, like we kind of revived it, and like did Food Not Bombs, and we did what was it called? Jeez.
Were you a part of the the Critical Masses? Did you organize any of those?
That's it.
Yeah.
The Critical Mass, yeah.
So we used to do those, but was that like one Friday a month or something that we would do, or was it every Friday for a little while? I don't remember. I remember
There were a couple kickoffs that were like pretty hardcore, and like some people managed to get arrested.
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
And like I'm sure maybe they're gonna listen to this, like, and that's
I have a feeling I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I remember kicking a car one time because they tried to turn and hit me.
sure.
A cop car?
No, not a cop car, just a
regular
some
car.
asshole trying to fucking run me over.
No, like Lawrence was like it's funny and it feels quaint, but like Lawrence was definitely not the same as it is now.
No,
And like
certainly not.
riding a bike was like there were definitely people that like actively were like, I will run
Trying
you
to run
over,
you down.
like, It was,
Well, and I mean, just for being on the bike, you would get called the F slur. And
That's exactly what. Yeah, I got called that. So I would ride my bike when I worked at La Familia. I either walked or rode my bike, but I usually rode my bike, and I had many, like the type of trucks that would be like rolling coal, that would drive by me and call me the F slur. Like, I'm just a guy riding my bike. Like, and I was on my way to like wash dishes for a living, so I wasn't like super punked out or anything. I was just like, I think I was wearing just like a t-shirt and some jeans, and like would put like, I don't know, whatever apron they had there over it. But I was just wearing just regular ass clothes and like a baseball cap. Like, these guys would get really like almost, it seemed like they were offended that I was riding a bicycle.
that was kind of the era. Like it was I don't know if that was pre or post 9/11, because it did change a bit. But like, yeah, I mean, when I was in Lawrence, when I moved to Lawrence, it was like definitely like we were the greasers, and we were, battling against the preppies, or whatever.
Yeah.
White hats,
for sure.
white belts, whatever you called them. Like it was pretty
Right.
clear. I think white hats were the natural enemy. The
for
backwards white baseball cap. So
Well, were you at either of the brawls between Bullwinkles and the Pirate House?
no, not that I remember. Like I remember like living at the Pirate House, and like constantly like messing with Bullwinkles, because like they were on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
So one night there was a show at the Pirate House, and somebody from one of the touring bands walked by the fence and maced it as he walked by. And so there was a brawl on 14th Street that night. I don't remember. It was early, so I think Brandon probably still lived there when that happened.
Brandon was great. Like, I remember, like, we were sitting on the porch, like, many nights, and, like, people would drive by and, like, try to talk shit. And, like, my favorite Brandonism is, like, somebody drove by and, like, said some shit one night, and Brandon was like, hey, that was mean. You're being mean. Like, you're a mean person for saying that. Like, he just called them on it, and, like, they just shut right up. And, like, I was like, yeah, hell yeah, Brandon. Like, they're just being mean.
That was better than my retorts, which Mayo reminded me of, is that I completely forgot I used to say this all the time, but like, I noticed you've got a butthole and I've got 2 thumbs. What's up?
That's a pretty good one. I don't remember what the circumstances were, but there was Joe dressed up like a frat guy and was walking around with a paddle and like spanking people with it, like nice. Frat and sorority people that were walking by,
right? And
they'd like give him a mean look or like be like, "What the fuck, bro?" And he'd just be like, "I'm on your side, bro," and they'd be like, "All right, we're cool." Like, I don't know if it was for Halloween or if Joe just like dressing up like a frat guy and fucking with the frat guys. Maybe both.
So the other brawl with Bullwinkles was on Andy IY's birthday. I believe it was her 18th birthday. I think statute of limitations allows that. And she had a shopping basket full of presents that people got her, and this was '02, and it was shortly before I moved back to Wichita, so it was probably spring of '02. And some frat boy pushed her shopping cart full of presents over. And I think Element may have been playing a show because Josh was there, and Josh that did like scratching for Element towards the end of their he was there, and like it was just on, like he did that and something happened. He called a bunch of friends, and it was just, there were like 6 different cloudy cartoon melees of like a dust cloud and a fist
with
flying
fists,
here and a foot
random
flying
fist
there.
and leg,
and that's what it was like, and that was the last fisticuffs that I got in, and it was so much fun because it wasn't dangerous. Like, I wasn't afraid of any of those dudes, and I don't think they were afraid of us. It was just kind of a fun brawl, which, you know, I'm mostly a pacifist, but at that time, it seemed like a lot of fun.
That was the great part about Lawrence, but, like, also, like, nobody should ever push over Andy IY's birthday cart.
Right.
Like,
what the fuck?
I'll fight right, like, I'm ready to fight right now.
Right.
It's her birthday, dude. Like, just let her have her birthday. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
They
were just mad that they didn't get the invite.
So you and Chris participated in what I like to think of silly terrorism.
What was that called?
You know, it was harmless fun, but also like terrorized random people with silliness. So how did Killed in the Face come about?
Which is also one of the best names for a band I've ever heard in my entire life.
You know, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, the first rule of Killed in the Face is fuck you. I don't know what you're talking about. Chris and I bonded over just like the joy of the absurd and the joy of the I think the stated goal was to get beat up. And we're like, and it was like, how far can we go before we get beat up?
Probably didn't have to go that far.
In Lawrence, we never did. In Lawrence, it never happened.
Yeah, they never did.
And like, so unofficially, that's my statement. Officially, my statement is fuck you. But
okay.
For asking about Killed in the Face. But no, it's a fair. We broke. I remember being at a party in East Lawrence, and like they had this really big bong, and we were standing on. Like I was standing on the coffee table, making like a really long pronouncement about something, being like super anti-drugs. We were straight edge. So I was straight edge as a joke, because I had done tons of LSD as a teenager.
I was going to say, I don't remember you being straight edge for even 1 second, but I might have missed that part.
There was like a year in Lawrence where I was like, yeah, straight edge, like, but it was like a joke. It was like I was straight. I was, but it was like
joking about the posturing.
Yeah, like my great grandma was a teetotaler, which like actually like ties into like women's rights and suffragettes, and like it's a worthwhile cause. So we called ourselves teetotalers, which actually probably disrespects their legacy. Which, sorry, great grandma, but like, we put teas on our hands. Like we thought we were so funny in a college town, but we would, like we were at this party in East Lawrence, and like we were like, we wore these stupid costumes. Amazing. The greatest costumes.
No, it was amazing. It was not stupid. It was amazing.
Well, but our posture was basically like very Trump. Like we were very like, we're the best. No one's ever done anything better than what we're doing. Like you're welcome for being here. Like
you were doing it before he was doing it. He's actually ripping you guys off.
Now think about it, like he owes us. Like that's he probably.
Yeah.
That was our thing. But no, we would show up and we would go in and we would make proclamations about how everyone was like horrible and we were the best, and like play our songs. We made a demo. We recorded it. It was limited to 4 copies that were dubbed over Tegan and Sarah tapes that we stole from Seventh Heaven.
That's incredible. I didn't know Tegan and Sarah had been around that long. That's wild.
On the back, did you Smokey the Bear, and it said "Only you can prevent Killed in the Face," and we stole these like the boner pills you get from the gas stations. We just take those on the back. So it was like, "Only you can prevent Killed in the Face. Here's a boner pill." That was the Killed in the Face demo. No, that was probably the best thing I've ever been a part of, and I'll never live up to that again. So
I don't know if anyone will.
It's hard to say.
It's tough.
Nick, did you ever see them play?
I must have. I
was in a car that was driving y'all around one night.
Mm-hmm.
You played like 3 or 4 different places.
Because we would try to we would just drive around let's find like the worst place to go to.
You went to one of the frats that night, and then you went to a couple restaurants, I believe, and it was amazing.
The thing I remember is like we interrupted Adam and his package at the Bottleneck. Like somehow like we got on stage in the middle of his set. And like he was doing a thing at the time where like he like was like live, it was on his website, but he was like live journaling his like tour, and like we were on there. It was like he was like some band like got on stage tonight. Like he had like a video of us. And I was like, we were like, yeah, we're big time. We interrupted Adam's package at the Bottleneck. So
now I'm gonna look for that recording to see if it still exists.
Didn't Killed in the Face play the Annex at one point?
I mean, they probably showed up and busted in our door.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I remember that, because I think we were just hanging out, and we had some people over, and they just showed up, and we just kind of went with it.
That's probably right.
Does that sound right to both? Because like, I'm sitting there thinking about it, I'm like,
let's go right there.
Yeah. Because we were there, we were hanging out. Like you could see us from the Pirate House.
Yeah.
So it stands to reason that you would have just come over and been like, all right, let's just fuck with the Annex.
Sorry, not sorry. You know.
No, don't be sorry.
You're welcome.
I had a
most famous band to ever play at my house.
I had a Killed in the Face flyer up in my abode for years and years and years and years, and I don't know what happened to it.
I had it.
Was that the full color one?
Yeah,
dude.
It made it to where I lived with the Fannings in 2003 and 4. So,
you lived with the Fannings in 2004?
Yeah, we had that house on 2nd Street.
Ah, I forgot about that house.
We ripped some dude off to make those. We were at Kinko's in Lawrence, and there was like a dude on a cell phone in like 2000. Like,
yeah.
Like, we're like, who are you? Like, so you're making copies, yet you're so busy on your cell phone. I think he worked for a production company, and like we were like we're gonna make like 20 copies, dude. Just like let us go. And like he was there and like was ignoring us, and finally he went outside to finish his call, and his credit card was still in the machine. I'll just be honest. We were like fuck this guy, and so we were like, what's the biggest copies we could make, which was 11 by 17, and so we made those huge Killed in the Face full color.
Nice.
With the Bob Dylan quote, not Bob Dylan quote, but a quote about Bob Dylan.
Yeah, it was just like
voice of a generation, not my generation.
Yeah, that was the one. That's why those existed, because that guy went out to take a call, and we're like, screw you and your company card. Like, we're gonna make the biggest color copies we can make. Which is like, you know, it tracks with Killed in the Face. Like, that was the message. Right. The message was fuck you, and you know, so fuck that guy.
Right. Who has a cell phone in 2000 anyway? Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
So when did
he
was
a doctor or something? I don't know.
He went to go save somebody's life.
And we billed him $60 on his credit card. So.
He's a doctor. He can afford it.
I mean, thanks for supporting the scene, dude.
So you lived at the Rainbow Dungeon of Rock or whatever it's called?
No, I didn't. That was Brooke.
You didn't live at the Rainbow Dungeon of Rock?
No, I was just there a lot.
You were just there all the time.
When did you move out of the pirate house, and where did you go from there?
One of the people at the Rainbow Dungeon I was sweet on, so I went there a lot. We ended up getting married. But I moved out of the pirate house in 2001.
Are you coming or not?
Oh, hold on. I'll be up in a little bit. Go ahead and go on up.
We're keeping that in.
Yeah.
It's going to be a while, buddy. So, like, go on up. All right, then sit up there. I moved out of the pirate house in 2001, and we moved into the, what was it called? The Mother Earth Collective at 1305 Tennessee. So.
Oh, okay. Who all lived there?
At first, it was Lowell, Kurt, Adam Mitchell, me, and then Lizzie, who was dating Lowell at the time. And then Adam moved out, Mike Wells moved in. I think Kurt moved out and Chris moved in. Kellogg. It became kind of nebulous at some point, but like it was.
Yeah, it usually happened.
Yeah.
It was like, I'll be honest, like, and somebody else can like tell a different story if they want, but like, going from the pirate house to that, it was a bummer. It was.
Oh, really?
The pirate house was so much fun. Like, it was like silly and just, you know.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, we were into punk, but it was like in a tongue-in-cheek way. It was like not. You know, we weren't like, oh, dude, we're so punk. Like, we were just like, this is fun. Like.
Right.
Yeah.
The Mother Earth Collective was like a more serious, like, we're gonna be like a collective, and like people came over and like voted on like how to set the thermostat. And I was like, this is terrible.
I have lived in those situations before. It doesn't. I lived at the Sunflower House in Lawrence, which is similar.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. It's just
awful,
like,
awful way to live.
You take something beautiful and fun, and you make it very bureaucratic, and you're like, this is just horrible.
Right.
So,
Well, one of the things I like about the punk scene is that you can be, political, and you can get political messages out there, but you can have fun doing it. You can be self-deprecating. You can be tongue-in-cheek, ironic. You can do all those things, yet you don't have to flush fun down the toilet just to take a political stand on something.
No, it took it... Well, so the coolest thing about the Mother Earth Collective for me, and like, I don't know who listens to this, but maybe they'll be pissed off. I don't really care, but like, some college kids came by one day, and like, they were like, "Hey, we're doing some research on Lowell Lee Andrews," and we're like, "Who's that?" And like, he's the last person to be executed in the state of Kansas, and they're like, he lived in that bedroom right there, and like, it's actually in the book In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. And it was my bedroom.
Oh, wow.
So like,
that's crazy.
And like, they talk about it or Truman Capote like writes about it in the book. Like, it was like it was like Thanksgiving, like whatever year, like in the 50s or early 60s. Like, you can look it up, but like, he like went to his parents' house and like murdered his whole family. Like, and I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, he sat here in my bedroom. It was probably the same fucking light bulb. And like, just went and did that. That's cool. So, but that was the coolest part about 1305 Tennessee. We have like, total like Lawrence, like slumlord. That's the thing. Like, okay, so the thing, I should say this. The thing about the Pirate House that was so fucking cool was our landlord, Betty Crow. All props to Betty Crow from Roland Park, Kansas. She was like on board and like supported us and backed us when like the city of Lawrence was like, fuck these guys, like fuck this like party. She came up and like we showed her like some like articles that like had been written. She was like, oh, fuck this, like I'll go to bat for you. And like that's the unsung hero of the Pirate House is Betty Crow.
Yeah,
so like,
that's fucking cool.
Yeah, Betty Crow for sure.
So when you guys lived there, did you get a lot of shit from the cops? Because all of my dealings with the Lawrence PD at the Pirate House, they're just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You're going to do what you're going to do. And they mostly left us alone. But I didn't live there, so I wasn't sure if like you had different experience with Lawrence PD as a resident of the Pirate House.
I mean, my experience with Lawrence PD was like, they're cops in a college town, and they're used to like a fair amount of bullshit, and like what we were doing was like not problematic to them, like ultimately. Like, it was like they were like now like it was
it was hijinks.
It was like a disappointed mother or something, not like trying to shut shit down all the time.
Other people had like different experiences with like the Lawrence PD, and like depending on like what you were doing and like how you were doing it, really. But like we like playing music too loud was not. I mean, the last show I booked there was the Locust.
We've talked about that show, yeah.
Got shut down very quickly, and even that was like not a big problem. So
right, yeah. All right, so. Maybe you know what time it is after listening to a couple episodes with guests, but most important question of the interview is shit split. Filter Blats.
I've got a feeling I know your answer, but yeah, I'm excited to hear it.
Dude, I've always covered fuck shit up. It's Blats.
Yeah, hell yeah. Thank you.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Cool. I was starting to think everybody was a filth person. Glad there's another Blats person on board.
We so SBK once at the Pirate House on a dare, I think Jesse dared us, or somehow it came up in the middle of a set. We're like, oh, we can play the list backwards. We like confabbed like quickly, like, how do we do this? And like we're like, okay, here's the chords, here's how you play it back, and we did it. Like we were like, thousands long is the list, and like so we played the list. I was like, well, we know the list forwards and backwards, like, and it was like play it backwards. It's like that's like the Pirate House. It was like so stupid, and like so we did it. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a good time. I'm sure, for us. I don't know about the people that listen to it, but yeah.
That's great. So are you still playing music? Do you still have any projects that you're playing music with, or what are you doing now?
Brooke just did a record. We recorded it here with some dudes here in Kansas City. It's out on Spotify. Brooke Tooley and the, what's it called? Brooke and the Moon Man? Moon Travelers. They named after the bottle rocket. So Brooke and the Moon Travelers. So that's out, and like that's super cool. I play some stuff on there, and like, yeah, I'm doing a band with like my friends Alex and Tyler and Joe. We haven't decided. Well, we've tentatively, like, we call ourselves. We were like, what's the stupidest band name? We were like, Dented Zeus, like, because it's so dumb. And so like we call ourselves Dented Zeus. And, like, at this point, we're like, maybe we're just called Dented Zeus? Like, it's... So, but that's what we do.
Dented Zeus?
Yeah, like Zeus, but he's dented.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, you've recorded it now. So, I mean, it's on this podcast.
I think
that's
you
your
said
band name now.
I thought you said tented Zeus. Like he's been tented, like a tented window.
Like he's in a tent?
I like that, too.
Or he's in a tent, or he could just be sleeping in a tent. He's tented Zeus.
He's like getting some bugs like cleaned out, tented Zeus. No, like it was just like the stupidest thing we could think of, and like that was what we thought of, and like it became like a name for like a hangover. Like, oh, I'm a dented Zeus this morning, and then it was like, all right, well now it feels kind of real, but like that's what we called it. So, I don't know. We're hopefully going to play some shows this year out in Lawrence and Kansas City. Hopefully come out to Wichita, do something.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, come play up in Chicago.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Play with Johnny's band.
Yeah,
Oh,
go
yeah.
to
That would
go to
be so much
Minnesota.
fun.
I love Johnny's episode on here. It was amazing.
Oh, it was so fun talking to him. We really need to get more of our friends to come hang out because, living 2 to 12 hours away from people and not getting to talk to them is a bummer. So getting to do this shit is a whole lot of fun.
It'd be fun to get like 2 or 3 people on the same episode and like have them like argue. Or like be like, that's not how I remember it. Like I'm sure somebody's gonna like listen to something I said and like, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
And they're probably right. Like I'm not.
We'll get all the correctors on together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And have them disagree about things. We'll have to get Johnny and Nick and Joe to all, which I'm sure they will all disagree on different things. So
Yeah.
that'd be great. I think we just like let them loose and just let them yell at each other and just sit back, watch chaos ensue.
Yeah.
It's exactly how it was then. Like that's what it was like. And like
Yes.
we're all here for it.
Oh, Joe
Hey,
did one of the corrections Joe gave me. I just remembered, and Mike, you touched on this briefly. But yeah, the G Coffee had originally been a coffee shop in Lenexa, and then they moved to Olathe and stopped serving coffee and just became a venue. So there were bands that would play at G Coffee in Lenexa when it still served coffee, but they kept the venue but ditched the coffee, but kept the name for some reason. So there you go. That's why it was called G Coffee, because it used to actually be a coffee shop.
G Coffee actually had an alternate name, the Flow Room, which is for raves. So like G Coffee
That's a really
/
bad name.
the Flow Room.
It's perfect
like-
for a rave
Like,
place in the late
find somebody
90s.
who went to the Flow Room, and like I would love to hear their stories because it was like the night after the punk show when when they had a rave there.
I think
The Flow Room.
I don't remember if it was there. I got dragged to a rave in Olathe. Maybe it was there.
I mean,
But hey, you want to go to a show? And I was like, sure. And then he drove me all the way down there. I did not have a car with me. He drove me, and then we showed up, and it was a fucking rave. And I was like, oh, you son of a bitch! I'm just stuck here.
pretty likely that would have been G Coffee.
Yeah, it probably was,
Was it like
or
a
the flow
warehouse?
room.
Yeah.
What's that?
Was it like a big warehouse, like open space?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, aren't all raves?
My favorite, like, I have two favorite memories of G Coffee. Like, one is like not a favorite memory, is like the opposite. But like we were standing out front, like just conversing after a show, and like somebody from Olathe drove by and like threw a 9-volt battery and hit my friend Erica in the nose with the 9-volt battery.
Fuck.
Which is like,
What?
It's like the most
That's
Olathe
fucked
thing
up.
ever. Like, you know, Olathe sucks.
Dude, when I was in Olathe, we were walking to get dinner. I was up there for work, and I saw a fucking heroin needle in the fucking grass. I was like, in Olathe? All right, man.
Sounds about right for like
Yeah.
2024 Olathe.
Yeah, Olathe definitely like has like there's the rich side of Olathe, and then there's the other side of Olathe where you'll find like
There are a lot of like fine punks from our scene that we're talking about, like that come from Olathe, and like
Yeah.
you know, I think, you know, Noah, Chris, I think Brandon even, like,
Corey's from Olathe.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like it's you know, like it's not the people, it's just like, yeah, but like
Oh yeah.
the other thing was like Kurt Lane, I remember it was like, hey, meet me out in front of G Coffee, I'll be the guy with the green hair and a Dead Kennedys t-shirt. And I was like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. It's like there was like 10 people at G Coffee that night, you know. It's
Nice.
yeah.
Are you what?
I just said, including me, because like I used to have green hair and a Dead Kennedy shirt.
Yeah.
So
You could again if you wanted to.
I had the
could?
Nazi punks fuck off shirt. So
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and tune in again for episode 12 in 2 weeks, exactly 2 weeks after this one.